How dare you come here like that? Ah!
How dare you slap my wife?
Your wife! I told you.
Mistress slapped wife, unaware she's the wife to the president, but... Distinguished viewers, welcome to Luxury True Life Stories. Please like and subscribe for more amazing real-life luxury stories. Now, let's get into the story. Sophia Bernard grew up in the peaceful coastal town of Rosshaven, a quiet place known for its calm streets and beautiful ocean views. Her family lived a simple life, but their home was filled with warmth and love. Her father, Richard Bernard, worked as a respected history teacher who believed strongly in honesty and hard work. Her mother, Eleanor Bernard, was a talented seamstress who designed dresses for weddings and special occasions. Though they were not wealthy, Sophia's parents always made sure she grew up surrounded by kindness, wisdom, and strong values. From a young age, Sophia was known for her gentle nature and thoughtful personality. She loved reading books, especially stories about strong women who overcame hardships to build meaningful lives. She also enjoyed helping her mother in the sewing room, watching carefully as beautiful fabrics were turned into elegant dresses. These quiet moments shaped Sophia's appreciation for patience, dedication, and creativity. Her father often reminded her that true happiness did not come from wealth, but from living with dignity and compassion. As Sophia entered adulthood, she carried her parents' teachings with her. She dreamed of building a peaceful life filled with love, stability, and meaningful work. While many people in town chased wealth or status, Sophia believed in something simpler, finding a partner who respected her and building a future based on trust. At that time, she had no idea that her life would soon take unexpected turns that would test her strength and change her destiny forever. Sophia's life in Rosshaven followed a quiet routine until the day she met George Williams. George was a confident young businessman who had recently moved to town to expand his company. He was charming, well-dressed, and knew exactly how to capture attention in a room. When he first spoke to Sophia at a small community charity event, he appeared kind and respectful. His warm smile and confident personality made him seem trustworthy, and Sophia was quickly drawn to his energy. For the first time in her life, she felt that someone truly noticed her. George began visiting Rosshaven often, always finding reasons to spend time with Sophia. They walked along the beach, shared dinners at small restaurants, and talked about their dreams for the future. George often spoke about building a successful business empire, while Sophia spoke about wanting a peaceful family life built on love and loyalty. George admired Sophia's gentle nature, and she admired his ambition. Their relationship grew quickly, and people around them believed they were a perfect match. Within a short time, George proposed to Sophia with a promise of a bright future together. Sophia believed she had found the man she had always dreamed of, a strong, successful partner who would build a life with her. Filled with hope and excitement, she said yes, unaware that the love she trusted so deeply would one day become the greatest test of her life. The wedding of Sophia Bernard and George Williams quickly became one of the most talked about events in Rosshaven. George insisted on organizing a grand ceremony at an elegant seaside venue overlooking the ocean. White roses decorated the long aisles, and soft music filled the air as guests gathered under a beautifully decorated canopy. Sophia wore a stunning dress designed and sewn by her mother, Eleanor Bernard, who had spent months carefully crafting every detail with love. When Sophia walked down the aisle beside her father, Richard Bernard, her heart was filled with excitement and hope. She believed she was stepping into the future she had always dreamed about. George stood confidently at the altar, greeting guests with charm and pride. Many people admired him for his success and ambition. To Sophia, he seemed like the perfect partner, strong, capable, and determined. During the ceremony, George promised to protect and support Sophia forever. His words sounded sincere, and Sophia believed every one of them. Friends and family celebrated joyfully after the vows, enjoying music, dancing, and laughter late into the evening. It felt like the beginning of a wonderful life. After the wedding, Sophia moved with George to the bustling city where his business was expanding. Everything felt new and exciting. Their apartment was large and luxurious, far different from the modest home where Sophia had grown up. She believed she was entering a world filled with opportunity and happiness. But as the weeks slowly passed, small changes in Georgia's behavior began to appear, changes Sophia did not yet understand but would soon struggle to ignore. Life in the city was very different from the quiet comfort Sophia had known in Rosshaven. At first, everything seemed exciting. Georgia's apartment overlooked a busy skyline filled with bright lights and tall buildings. Expensive restaurants, elegant parties, and new social circles quickly became part of Sophia's life. George introduced her to wealthy business partners and influential people, and many admired her calm elegance. Sophia tried her best to fit into this new world, even though she sometimes missed the peaceful rhythm of her hometown and the warmth of her parents' home. As George's business grew, he became busier and more distant. Long meetings and late-night events became normal for him. At first, Sophia believed it was simply the pressure of success. She patiently supported him, preparing dinners that often grew cold while waiting for him to return home. But gradually, George's attitude toward her began to change. He became impatient, sometimes criticizing small things about the house or the way she spoke during social gatherings. His once gentle tone slowly turned cold and dismissive, leaving Sophia confused and hurt. Sophia tried to talk to him, hoping to understand what was wrong. Instead of explaining, George brushed her concerns aside and told her she worried too much. The loving man she had married seemed to be fading, replaced by someone distant and easily irritated. Still, Sophia believed their marriage could improve. She held on to hope that things would return to how they once were, unaware that a new presence was about to enter their lives, someone who would make everything far worse. One evening, George attended an exclusive business party hosted by wealthy investors in the city. These gatherings were often filled with powerful executives, glamorous guests, and ambitious individuals hoping to climb higher in society. That night was when George met Benita Tyler. Benita was strikingly confident and carried herself with bold elegance that immediately caught attention. She was known in elite social circles for her beauty, sharp wit, and her ability to attract influential men. Benita enjoyed luxury and power, and she carefully chose the people she surrounded herself with. When she noticed George across the room speaking with investors, she quickly recognized his growing success and saw an opportunity. George was instantly fascinated by Benita's bold personality. Unlike Sophia's calm and gentle nature, Benita was loud, playful, and fearless. She openly complimented George's achievements and laughed at his jokes, making him feel admired and important. Their conversation lasted long into the evening, and by the time the party ended, they had already exchanged contact information. George returned home late that night, claiming it was simply another business meeting. Sophia believed him without question, unaware that someone new had just entered their lives. Over the following weeks, George began spending more time away from home. His phone calls became secretive, and he often stepped outside to answer messages. Meanwhile, Benita enjoyed the attention George gave her. She loved expensive gifts, luxurious dinners, and the feeling of control she had over him. Slowly, their relationship grew deeper. What began as flirtation quickly turned into an affair. While Sophia waited at home hoping her marriage would improve, Benita was already stepping into her place without hesitation. As George's relationship with Benita grew stronger, his respect for Sophia continued to fade. At first, Sophia only noticed small changes. George rarely spoke kindly to her anymore, and he often ignored her presence when they attended social gatherings together. The man who once proudly introduced her as his beloved wife now treated her like an obligation. At business dinners, George sometimes mocked Sophia's quiet personality, saying she was too simple to understand the world of powerful business leaders. Each comment was disguised as a joke, but the embarrassment Sophia felt was real. Benita soon became a constant presence in George's life. At first, Sophia only heard her name mentioned casually during conversations about business events and social gatherings. But gradually, Benita appeared more often. She attended parties where George was present and spoke to him with a familiarity that made others uncomfortable. On one occasion at a crowded corporate celebration, Benita openly flirted with George while Sophia stood only a few steps away. Instead of stopping her behavior, George laughed and encouraged the attention. Guests noticed the awkward situation, whispering quietly among themselves as Sophia forced a polite smile to hide her humiliation. The situation became even more painful when Benita began openly mocking Sophia. She often made subtle remarks about Sophia's modest background or her quiet personality. George never defended his wife. Instead, he sometimes joined in the jokes, treating the situation like harmless entertainment. Sophia returned home from these gatherings feeling deeply hurt and confused. She tried to convince herself that George was simply stressed by his growing business responsibilities. Yet deep inside, she began to sense something far more troubling, that the man she had trusted with her heart was slowly becoming someone she no longer recognized. The tension inside George and Sophia's home continued to grow until it finally reached a breaking point. One evening, George returned home earlier than usual, but instead of the calm conversation Sophia hoped for, his expression was cold and impatient. He barely looked at her as he placed a thick folder on the table. Sophia opened it slowly, her hands trembling as she realized what it was: divorce papers. George spoke bluntly, saying their marriage was no longer useful to him and that he had already decided to end it. His words felt harsh and distant, as if the years they had spent together meant nothing. Sophia tried to reason with him, asking if they could talk and fix whatever had gone wrong. But George had already made up his mind. He told her she was holding him back and that he needed someone more suited to his new lifestyle. His cruel honesty left Sophia stunned. She soon discovered that Benita was the real reason behind his decision. George had chosen her over the woman he once promised to love forever. The divorce process moved quickly, and George used his wealth and influence to ensure everything happened on his terms. When the divorce was finalized, Sophia left the luxurious apartment with only a few personal belongings and a broken heart. The humiliation was painful, especially after everything she had endured. News of the separation quietly spread among their social circles, and many people assumed Sophia had simply been replaced. George continued his life of wealth and parties, often appearing publicly with Benita. Meanwhile, Sophia walked away from the life she once believed in, unsure of what the future would bring but determined to find the strength to start again. After the divorce, Sophia left the busy city and moved into a small apartment in a quiet part of another town. The place was simple, nothing like the luxury she once lived in, but it offered something she desperately needed: peace. The first few weeks were difficult. Sophia spent many evenings sitting by the window, watching people pass by while she tried to process everything that had happened. The humiliation, the betrayal, and the sudden end of her marriage left deep emotional wounds. Yet despite the pain, she refused to let bitterness define her future. To rebuild her life, Sophia began working at a local publishing office as an assistant editor. The job was modest, but it gave her a sense of purpose again. Her co-workers quickly noticed her quiet intelligence and strong work ethic. One of them, Daniel Carter, became a supportive friend. Daniel was a cheerful and thoughtful man who respected Sophia's privacy but often encouraged her to believe in herself again. He admired her resilience and reminded her that difficult chapters in life did not mean the entire story was over. Slowly, Sophia began rediscovering small pieces of happiness. She returned to reading, took peaceful evening walks, and spent time learning new skills at work. The scars from her past were still there, but they no longer controlled her completely. Unknown to her, fate was preparing a surprising turn in her life. One day, during a quiet afternoon at a neighborhood cafe, she would meet a mysterious man whose presence would change everything in ways she could never imagine. One quiet afternoon after work, Sophia decided to visit a small cafe near her apartment. It was a peaceful place with wooden tables, soft music, and the comforting smell of fresh coffee. She often came there to read or organize her thoughts after long days at the publishing office. On that particular day, the cafe was unusually calm. As Sophia sat by the window with a book, she noticed a man sitting alone at the next table. He was dressed simply, wearing a dark coat and speaking politely with the cafe owner. There was something calm and thoughtful about him that caught Sophia's attention, though she quickly returned to her book. A few minutes later, the man politely asked if he could sit at her table because the cafe had begun to fill with people. Sophia agreed without much thought. His name, he introduced, was Timothy. He spoke in a gentle and respectful tone that immediately made the conversation comfortable. Unlike many people Sophia had met in the city, Timothy seemed genuinely interested in listening rather than talking about himself. They discussed simple things, books, travel, and life experiences. Sophia found herself smiling more during that short conversation than she had in a long time. Timothy was careful not to reveal much about his life. In reality, he was Timothy Vincent, the president of the country, temporarily living under a quiet disguise to experience normal life away from constant public attention. Only a few trusted people, including his security chief Marcus Reed, knew about this arrangement. Timothy had grown tired of people approaching him because of power or influence. Meeting Sophia felt refreshing because she spoke to him naturally, unaware of who he really was. As they finished their coffee, Timothy politely asked if they could meet again someday. Sophia agreed, not realizing that this simple meeting was the beginning of a completely new chapter in her life. After their first meeting, Sophia and Timothy began seeing each other more often. Their meetings were simple and quiet, coffee at the same cafe, long walks through a nearby park, and occasional visits to a small bookstore Sophia loved. Timothy always appeared calm and thoughtful, listening carefully whenever Sophia spoke. Unlike George, who often dominated conversations, Timothy respected Sophia's opinions and encouraged her to talk about her ideas and dreams. Sophia found comfort in his presence. For the first time since her painful divorce, she felt truly seen and valued again. Timothy admired many things about Sophia. Her kindness toward strangers, her dedication to her work, and the quiet strength she showed after everything she had endured impressed him deeply. Even though Sophia rarely spoke in detail about her past marriage, Timothy could sense the pain she had experienced. Instead of pressing her for answers, he simply supported her in small ways, bringing her favorite books, remembering the little things she mentioned, and encouraging her whenever she doubted herself. Their connection grew stronger with each meeting, built not on wealth or appearance but on genuine understanding. Over time, Sophia began to feel a warmth in her heart she thought she had lost forever. She trusted Timothy because he never rushed her feelings or made promises he could not keep. Unknown to Sophia, Timothy had already begun struggling with a difficult decision. His feelings for her were real, but his hidden identity weighed heavily on him. He knew that sooner or later he would have to reveal the truth about who he truly was, and he feared that the revelation might change everything between them. As the weeks passed, Timothy realized he could no longer hide the truth from Sophia. Their relationship had grown too meaningful for secrets to remain between them. One calm evening, he invited Sophia to a quiet private garden on the edge of the city, a peaceful place surrounded by tall trees and soft lantern lights. Sophia sensed that something serious was on his mind. Timothy appeared thoughtful, even slightly nervous, which was unusual for someone who always seemed composed. Taking a deep breath, Timothy explained that there was something important about his life he had not told her. At first, Sophia thought he might reveal some personal hardship or family issue. Instead, Timothy calmly told her his full name, Timothy Vincent, and explained that he was the president of the country. For a moment, Sophia simply stared at him in disbelief. She had seen the president on television before, but the humble man she had been meeting at cafes and parks seemed completely different from the powerful leader she had seen in the news. Timothy explained that he had chosen to disguise his identity because he wanted to experience genuine human connections without power influencing people's behavior. Sophia was shocked and needed time to process the revelation. Timothy apologized sincerely for not telling her sooner, explaining that he feared losing the natural friendship they had built. He assured her that his feelings for her were real and not influenced by his position. After a long silence, Sophia realized that the kindness and respect Timothy had shown her were genuine. The title of president did not change the man she had come to know. Slowly, her surprise softened into understanding, and she agreed to continue their relationship, this time with the full truth between them. After Timothy revealed the truth about his identity, Sophia needed time to adjust to the reality of his life. Being in a relationship with the president was something she had never imagined. Timothy understood her hesitation and reassured her that he wanted their relationship to remain simple and genuine. He did not want the pressure of politics, media attention, or public judgment to overwhelm what they had built together. Over time, Sophia realized that despite his powerful position, Timothy remained the same thoughtful man she had met in the cafe. His kindness, patience, and respect for her feelings never changed. Their relationship grew even stronger as they spent more time together, often meeting quietly away from public attention. Timothy introduced Sophia to a few trusted people in his life, including his loyal security chief Marcus Reed and his capable chief of staff Laura Whitman. Both respected Sophia immediately because they could see how happy Timothy was with her. Marcus quietly ensured their safety whenever they met, while Laura carefully managed Timothy's schedule so he could spend time away from the public eye. Despite the secrecy, Sophia never felt hidden or unimportant. Timothy treated her with genuine love and appreciation. Months later, Timothy proposed to Sophia during a quiet evening walk in the same garden where he had first revealed his identity. This time, Sophia did not hesitate. She had seen enough of his character to trust his heart completely. They decided to marry privately to protect their relationship from unnecessary public attention. Only a small group of trusted witnesses attended the ceremony. It was simple but meaningful, filled with quiet joy. Sophia Bernard became the wife of President Timothy Vincent, though the world had no idea yet. For Sophia, it was not the title that mattered, it was the feeling that she had finally found a partner who truly valued her. Life after their quiet wedding felt peaceful for Sophia and Timothy. Although Timothy still carried the responsibilities of leading the nation, he always found time to be with Sophia whenever possible. Their private moments were simple but meaningful, shared dinners, quiet conversations, and evening walks in the presidential residence gardens where they could enjoy calm moments away from the pressure of politics. Sophia never imagined she would live in such an environment, yet Timothy always made sure she felt comfortable rather than overwhelmed by the position she now held in his life. A few months after their marriage, Sophia began feeling unusually tired and unwell. At first, she assumed it was simply stress from adjusting to a new life. However, Timothy insisted that she visit a trusted doctor to be certain everything was fine. The appointment was arranged quietly with Dr. Amelia Brooks, a respected physician who often worked privately with government officials. After careful examination and a few tests, Dr. Brooks smiled warmly as she delivered surprising news: Sophia was pregnant. When Timothy heard the news, his reaction was filled with overwhelming joy. The usually composed president could hardly hide his excitement. Becoming a father meant more to him than any political achievement. He immediately embraced Sophia, promising that he would support her through every moment of the journey ahead. Wanting to celebrate this new chapter, Timothy began planning a grand event that would serve two important purposes: announcing the existence of his beloved wife to the nation and sharing the joyful news that they were expecting a child. Neither of them realized that this celebration would soon bring unexpected confrontations from the past. Timothy began preparing a grand presidential gala that would be attended by influential leaders, business figures, diplomats, and members of high society. Officially, the event was described as a celebration of national achievements, but Timothy had a deeper purpose. He planned to reveal two life-changing announcements that evening, introducing his wife to the nation and sharing the joyful news of their unborn child. Only a few trusted people, including Marcus Reed and Laura Whitman, knew about the surprise. The planning took weeks, and every detail of the event was carefully arranged to ensure the moment would be unforgettable. Sophia felt both excited and nervous about the upcoming gala. Although she had grown comfortable with Timothy's world, the thought of standing before such a large audience still felt overwhelming. Timothy reassured her gently, reminding her that she would never face anything alone again. Elegant gowns were prepared, the grand hall of the presidential residence was decorated with shimmering lights and fresh flowers, and security teams carefully organized the guest list. Sophia chose a graceful dress that highlighted her quiet elegance, while Timothy ensured that the evening would unfold exactly as planned. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, George Williams and Bonita Tyler also received invitations to the prestigious gala. George had become even more ambitious in business, and attending such an event was an opportunity to strengthen his connections with powerful people. Bonita, always eager to appear in elite circles, was thrilled by the invitation. She loved luxurious events where she could display her beauty and confidence. Neither of them knew that this evening would soon place them face to face with someone from their past, someone whose life had changed in ways they could never imagine. The night of the presidential gala finally arrived. The grand hall of the presidential residence shimmered with elegant decorations, golden lights, and beautifully arranged tables. Influential guests from across the country gathered, dressed in formal attire and enjoying soft music played by a live orchestra. The atmosphere was filled with excitement and prestige. Sophia arrived quietly before most of the guests with Timothy, but for the moment she remained in a private lounge while preparations continued. Timothy wanted everything to be perfectly arranged before revealing his surprise to the public. Among the arriving guests were George Williams and Bonita Tyler. George walked confidently through the entrance, greeting business associates and enjoying the attention that came with attending such an important event. Bonita walked beside him proudly, dressed in a glamorous gown that drew many admiring glances. She loved the luxury and influence surrounding the gala. For her, it was another opportunity to display her status among the elite. Neither George nor Bonita suspected that someone from their past was already inside the same building. As the evening progressed, guests continued arriving and the hall slowly filled with conversation and laughter. Sophia eventually stepped out into a quieter area of the reception hall to take a short break from the crowd. The soft lights reflected gently against the polished floor as she stood near a balcony, enjoying a moment of calm. Her pregnancy made her slightly tired, and she simply wanted a breath of fresh air before the main event began. Unfortunately, at that exact moment, someone across the room noticed her, and the person who noticed was Bonita Tyler. Bonita Tyler stared across the hall in disbelief when she recognized the woman standing near the balcony. For a moment she thought her eyes were playing tricks on her, but the more she looked, the clearer it became. It was Sophia Bernard, the same woman she had once mocked and replaced in George's life. Bonita's lips slowly curled into a smug smile. In her mind, Sophia was supposed to be living a miserable and forgotten life after the divorce. Seeing her here at such a prestigious gala confused her, but instead of questioning it, Bonita saw it as another chance to humiliate her. Without hesitation, Bonita walked confidently towards Sophia. The sound of her heels echoed softly across the polished floor as she approached. Sophia noticed her only when she was already standing close. For a brief moment, Sophia felt a quiet tension, remembering the painful memories connected to George and Bonita. However, she remained calm. Bonita began speaking in a mocking tone, asking how someone like Sophia managed to attend such an exclusive event. Her words were sharp and cruel, filled with sarcasm and superiority. She looked Sophia up and down before noticing her pregnancy. Bonita laughed loudly, drawing the attention of a few nearby guests. She began making insulting remarks, accusing Sophia of trying to trap another wealthy man and calling her irresponsible. At that moment, George Williams also noticed the scene and slowly walked over. Instead of stopping the situation, he watched with amusement, clearly enjoying the humiliation. Sophia remained quiet, refusing to respond to their insults. But Bonita, fueled by arrogance and jealousy, decided to push the situation even further, an action that would soon change everything. Benita's mocking laughter continued to echo around the quiet corner of the hall. Her words became even harsher as she circled Sophia slowly, clearly enjoying the attention she was drawing. She accused Sophia of pretending to be important and sneaking into the gala by attaching herself to another wealthy man. When she looked again at Sophia's pregnancy, her expression turned even more cruel. She loudly called Sophia disgraceful and accused her of trying to secure another man's fortune with the child. A few nearby guests watched the scene in uncomfortable silence, unsure how to react. George Williams stood beside Benita, observing the situation with a satisfied smile. Instead of stopping her insults, he laughed openly, as if Sophia's humiliation was nothing more than entertainment. The sound of his laughter cut deeply, reminding Sophia of the painful past she had worked so hard to leave behind. Yet she remained calm, refusing to argue or defend herself. She simply placed a protective hand over her stomach, focusing on the life she was carrying rather than the cruelty in front of her. Benita, frustrated by Sophia's silence, suddenly raised her hand and slapped Sophia across the face. The sharp sound echoed through the hall, instantly shocking the nearby guests. For a brief moment, the entire area fell silent. George burst into loud laughter, clearly believing the moment was humiliating for Sophia. But what neither he nor Benita realized was that several members of the presidential security team had already noticed the commotion, and someone very important was about to arrive. The sharp sound of the slap had barely faded when several members of the presidential security team quickly moved toward the scene. Guests nearby stepped back, whispering among themselves as tension filled the air. Sophia remained still, one hand gently resting on her cheek and the other protectively on her stomach. She did not react with anger or panic. Instead, she stood quietly, her composure surprising those who had witnessed the incident. Benita, however, looked pleased with herself, believing she had successfully humiliated the woman she had always looked down upon. Suddenly, a firm voice echoed from behind the growing crowd. "What is happening here?" The guests immediately turned to see President Timothy Vincent walking toward them with a serious expression. His presence instantly changed the atmosphere in the room. Conversations stopped, and people moved aside respectfully as he approached. Benita and George both straightened slightly, surprised to see the president himself involved in what they thought was a minor confrontation. They had no idea that the situation was about to take a dramatic turn. Timothy walked directly to Sophia and gently placed a protective arm around her. His expression was filled with concern as he looked at her face. Then he turned toward Benita and George, his calm demeanor now replaced with clear authority. In a steady voice, he addressed the security officer standing nearby. "Arrest them immediately." The command stunned everyone in the hall. Benita and George stared in disbelief as the officers stepped forward. Before they could even react, Timothy spoke again, his voice echoing clearly through the room. "You have just assaulted my wife." The shocking revelation spread through the crowd like wildfire, leaving Benita and George frozen in complete disbelief. The entire hall fell into stunned silence after Timothy's words. Guests stared in disbelief as the meaning of the president's statement slowly sank in. Sophia Bernard, the woman Benita had just insulted and slapped, was the wife of President Timothy Vincent. The security officers wasted no time. Under Timothy's direct order, they firmly detained Benita Tyler and George Williams. Benita's confident expression disappeared instantly, replaced with shock and panic. George, who had been laughing only moments earlier, now looked pale and speechless. Neither of them had imagined that the woman they once humiliated had become the First Lady. Whispers spread rapidly throughout the grand hall as guests began discussing the shocking revelation. Some people recognized Sophia from past social circles and could hardly believe the transformation of her life. The media representatives present at the gala quickly realized they were witnessing an extraordinary moment. Cameras flashed as reporters began capturing every detail. Timothy remained calm but protective, standing beside Sophia while security escorted Benita and George away from the hall. The once arrogant pair could only stare back in disbelief as the reality of their situation finally struck them. Moments later, Timothy gently guided Sophia toward the stage at the front of the hall. The audience watched quietly as he addressed the crowd. With a composed but proud voice, he officially introduced Sophia Vincent, his wife, to the nation for the first time. The announcement alone would have been historic, but Timothy continued with even greater joy as he revealed that they were also expecting their first child. The crowd erupted into applause and excitement. What had begun as a night of cruelty and humiliation had suddenly turned into a powerful moment of revelation and celebration. Sophia stood beside Timothy, realizing that the painful chapter of her past had finally closed. A completely new future was beginning. The days following the gala became some of the most talked about moments in the country. News channels, newspapers, and online platforms were filled with the story of the president's secret marriage and the shocking confrontation that had happened during the event. People across the nation quickly learned about Sophia Vincent, the quiet woman who had suddenly become their first lady. Many were moved by her story, how she had once faced humiliation and betrayal, but had remained calm and dignified even in the face of cruelty. Instead of focusing on the scandal, the public's attention slowly shifted to admiration for her strength and grace. Meanwhile, the consequences for George Williams and Bonita Tyler were severe. Their behavior at the gala had been witnessed by many powerful figures and recorded by numerous cameras. Their reputations quickly collapsed under public scrutiny. George's business partners began distancing themselves from him, unwilling to be associated with someone involved in such a disgraceful incident. Bonita, who once thrived on attention and social influence, suddenly found herself rejected by the same elite circles she had tried so hard to impress. The arrogance that once gave them confidence now left them facing the consequences of their actions. For Sophia and President Timothy Vincent, however, the future looked bright. Timothy ensured that Sophia felt supported and respected as she adjusted to her new public role. Despite the attention from the media and the responsibilities that came with her position, Sophia remained the same kind and thoughtful woman she had always been. She focused on preparing for the arrival of their child while also supporting charitable causes that helped families and women rebuild their lives after hardship. Standing beside Timothy, Sophia finally felt something she had searched for all along: peace, love, and a true new beginning. And that brings us to the end of today's story. The world of luxury often hides stories deeper than what meets the eye. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more captivating stories on Luxury True Life Stories. Until our next story, take care and stay tuned for more.